cheer. Queens of York, the atmosphere. Hype the crowd that never tame. Mets Postgame Show brings the flame.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the Mets Postgame Show right here on the channel and on X and on Twitch, as well as we got our boy Zach here, and I believe Chris will join us at some point during this postgame, but if he doesn't, me and Zach will hold it down for you guys during the show. Unfortunately, the Mets decided to give a game to the Los Angeles Dodgers and forget how to hit. We're running the score position. Oh wait, they didn't do that all year. So they did what they did all season, and they forgot to play defense and simple throws to home. There needs to be a clinic every game prior to a game in practice, bad in practice, to learn how to throw home. It's not that hard. I just don't understand it. It's the Lucas Duda syndrome, Zach. I just don't get it.
It's tough, and I just want to start by saying, like, I don't want any of this blame to be handed to Alvarez, because I've seen a lot of it on Twitter so far. A lot of people are blaming Alvarez for his mishandling of the catch. I mean, when you're a third baseman throwing a ball, coming in on a soft grounder like that and going home, you just give it to your catcher. You don't double clutch it, and then you don't spike one in the dirt. I mean, there's nothing Alvarez could do there. So it's tough to lose a game like that, but you know, it is what it is. It's a long season. We're going to have more opportunities where we're going to win games in those situations. We're probably going to lose a couple more. And we did what we said that the Mets should be out to do here in LA, and that's win two of four and take the season series. So, you want to get greedy and you want to win more. You want to either win 3 or even sweep them, which the Mets very well could have. But we're here. We did the job in LA. Now let's go to Colorado and bang up on them a little bit.
Yeah, the split was obviously what, I talked about, leave LA with a split. They did that. It's just unfortunate because we should have won game 2. Obviously, we had a 4-0 lead, and that's the most frustrating part. I know David Peterson pitched, he grinded through this game. He really, fought through, 7 hits, 3 runs, a couple of balls, could have been made, little CDI singles and all that stuff, but it's unfortunate because this is the type of game that, you could look back on and say, damn, we should have won that game. Is it going to bite us in the ass later on? Yeah, I guess maybe it could, maybe it won't. You just never know. But overall, it was a situation where when we went up to a 4-0 lead, this game looked over. Let's be honest. It felt like it was over. David Peterson was rolling, but that one inning that he gave up the 3 runs, it's like, all right, the Dodgers, you can see that Dave Roberts was desperate in this game. He was throwing everything out there, pitching wise, to try to keep this game as close as possible. And look, we talked about the Dodger offense. Regardless of their pitching, the Dodger offense is dangerous. They can just light it up just like that. And they showed, Michael Conforto got the game-winning hit. He's batting like 173. That's not the guy you expect to get the game-winning hit or the go-ahead run. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah, it is very unfortunate.
Worst case scenario is they would have lost the series. I guess the status quo is they took 2 out of 4, and now you got to beat up on Colorado. There's no excuse for that.
Yeah, they did what you needed to do. That's all they did. You would have loved to walk out of LA out of this Dodger series with a winning series, either 3 or 4, or even sweeping, like I said, but. It is what it is, great performance by David Peterson. He had that rough, I think it was the 3rd or the 4th inning where he let up all those 3 runs. And then from there, he really shut it back down, and he was able to come in clutch and grind through 7 innings. We didn't have to dip into the bullpen really at all. Obviously, Reed Garrett had to be used, and he used a lot of pitches and was less than stellar, to say the least. And then, Brandon Waddell got used for, I think it was just 1 out. So, it is what it is. We're gonna have a fresh bullpen going in the Colorado series. Hopefully, you could just tee off on some of those pitchers there in that altitude and really just get this offense rolling into what will be a stretch of games where we're going to play some tough teams. Starting with the Nationals at home, and then the Rays, if I'm not mistaken. Then we have a nice big road trip to Philly and then Atlanta. So, wipe this one from your memory. Wipe this game from your memory. We did what we needed to do in winning 2 games, and just move on, bang up on these upcoming easy series before we have to go really bear down and play some good teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was some people killing Reed Garrett on X, which makes no sense. I mean, he has like one bad out in every like 10
Yeah.
outings. Like he's been outstanding. He couldn't look. He was leaving pitches over the plate. They weren't really biting at his splitter in the dirt. It was just not one of those days that Reed Garrett. This is a guy that's been probably the best reliever in our bullpen other than Diaz this year, and it's unfortunate. Reed Garrett is going to have performances like this. What is he supposed to do? I know somebody was like, I think on X, they were like, "Oh, you should have put Diaz in the eighth." How does that make sense? You could have done that, you could have done that. I would have been okay with that. But if Diaz would have gave it up, would have bitched that. Why'd you put Diaz in the eighth? You had Reed Garrett out.
Exactly.
So you kind of biting the bullet on either end. It's like, what are you gonna do? You just have to go with the guy. And Reed Garrett's been basically our eighth inning guy.
Phenomenal.
Since Stanek, kind of like quote unquote lost that role a little bit. But overall, it's like, what are we supposed to do? It's a game where you left 13 men left on base. This is more about the offense than the pitching. There's a couple of double plays that weren't turned. Brett Beatty double clutched and kind of, threw a dirt ball to Alvarez about 20 feet away. That's a play that's got to be made. And I'm not going to – it's hard to kill Beatty because he's been so good defensively. And it seemed like it was like a mental block at that point. Like, because if you notice, I forgot who was running down the third base line, but he kind of looked and hesitated, the runner. And I think Beatty thought he was going to stop. And I think he was thinking he was going to hold on to it and chase down the runner. But again, in a rundown, as soon as you got to throw it to the whatever base. At this point, it was home. And he should have done that right away. And it would have been, at least a rundown and most likely get him out. And maybe the Mets do win a ball game or not. But it was a rough go of it for sure.
Yeah, it's tough to lose a game like that. It's different when you're getting blown out. You just never had it, or the other team beats you. But this is a game where you beat yourself with leaving runners on base, mental mistakes. The Starling Marte caught pick off, I guess the back kick by Will Smith, and then that play by Beatty. And like you said, I think Beatty got a little bit tripped up by Will Smith, kind of just stopping, right before home plate, trying to get himself into a rundown to let what's his name? I forget who hit the ball. Whoever it was, get to second base on it. Advance there to get into a scoring position for the next batter. And then Beatty just kind of mental mistake and spiked one at Alvarez's feet. And there was just nothing Alvarez, nothing Garrett could have done there. That was just Beatty just kind of shelling up and not doing what he needed to do. It is what it is. You got to correct those. You got to correct the mental mistakes and, just got to do a little bit better with runners in scoring position. You get one more hit, that game's tied. You get two more hits, we're probably winning that game. So it is what it is. Tough loss. Just got to brush it off and move on to the next series. We have an easy one coming up and got to take advantage of it and hopefully sweep this Colorado team. Nothing less than 2 wins, but definitely a sweep should be clearly. No. A sweep should just be.
I totally agree. Series wins are what's important, right? If you don't sweep the Rockies, it's don't jump off the Shea Bridge. All right, guys, don't jump off the Shea Bridge. Series wins are series wins. That's how you get to 95 plus wins easily by winning series. I was, this game, like it kind of like slowly like trickled out of our hands. It just felt that way later in the ball game. It just seemed like we were slow. We got that insurance run. I'm like, all right, 5-3, here we go. All right, we're looking good, but it just blew up in our faces really quickly. But I understand what people are talking about with Alvarez. Again, that pass ball, I believe it was a splitter that kind of just, he went in front of it. It just bounced off him. And, what are you going to do with that? It could have been better. If, could he blocked it better? Yeah, sure, I guess. But that's a hard ball to block. And then Alvarez at the plate, there's a couple opportunities. Look, we had bases loaded, 1 out, a strikeout and a pop-up. We had a second and third. You get a strikeout from McNeil and Marte gets picked off at third. You can't have those little things happen. And again, you can't make mistakes like this. If you play a mistake-free game, the Mets win this ball game easily. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, it is what it is kind of at this point. You correct some of these mistakes. you got an easy series coming up. You got to do the job there, and then hopefully the Mets can get a little bit healthier. I mean, Montas is on the horizon. Hopefully, Lindor, I expect, probably won't play a game in this Rocky series. There's probably no reason for him to. And then you got Minaya, who's I think making his first rehab start tomorrow in Brooklyn. So we're gonna get a bit healthier. Things are gonna look a bit better in that department. And then just gotta erase this from your memory and make the necessary adjustments to not make these mistakes again.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Like against a good team, you make those mistakes, you're gonna get almost beaten every single time. You make a mistake like this against the Rockies, you might win. So exactly. It's just unfortunate. And look, I'm trying to really put this series in perspective because the Braves lost, Phillies lost. So you would have gained the game on more the Phillies, but you would gain the game on the Phillies, and that's obviously important, especially when you play them about 10 days from now, you play the Phillies. So that's what sucks when you look at the overall picture of standings, and the Phillies are right behind us, and the Braves are kind of falling apart. So you would like to gain games on those teams. So that's what sucks here. But like I said, the Phillies, when they caught up to the Mets, they played Pittsburgh, they played Colorado like 6 times, just like the Mets are going to do, and they took full advantage of it. And now the Mets have to do that as well. But with this Dodgers series, every game the Mets outplayed them. Even at home in Citi Field, they outplayed them. Again, if the Mets play mistake-free baseball, they will win a game. No matter who they play, it's just the way it's been. The Dodgers win a close game finally. They don't do that very often at all. Usually it's the Mets who find themselves on top of close games. We talked about that on the other show, Zach. And they didn't do that today because of mistakes. Mistakes-free, they win this game. And that's where I get frustrated with this team. And I'm not going to talk about the pitching because I don't think it's fair to kill the pitching. Reed Garrett has been awesome. Peterson grinded through 7 innings. It's those little plays on defense and the bonehead base running mistakes that take you out of innings, that extend innings when you're on the field. That makes it harder for Reed Garrett. Like Reed Garrett, there was a couple of ground balls there where it's like, okay, he could have got out of an inning here, and now look what happens. It blows up in his face. He wasn't great. Clearly the location wasn't there, but you gotta limit the mistakes. I can't say that enough, and that's why they lost this game.
Yeah, when your pitcher's pitching like that, Reed Garrett's been awesome, like you said, all season. He's their second best pitcher out of that bullpen, second or third, wherever you want to put Huascar or Brosman. And when he doesn't have it, and he does make a good pitch and gets the play, gets the little ground ball that you need to get the guy at home, you got to make the play. You can't do something like that. But enough talking about that. It is what it is at this point. Let's get into the offense a little bit and what they did today, because it was a good one at times and a frustrating one at others.
Yeah, I mean, 11 hits, you should win a ball game.
Yeah.
Just like that. But again, those 11 hits, a lot of them didn't come with runners on base or runners in scoring position. Once again, we have no trouble getting on base.
Yeah, what was it? Three solo home runs, and then a sac fly by Beatty and another RBI single by Alonso. Yep. You got to come through, especially when you have the bases loaded with one out. You need to come through there, and then what was it? Second and third, also with one out. When Marte was at a third, and I think it was Soto at second or whatever it was, and then Marte got the back pick on him there to end the inning after the McNeil strikeout. That's a tough one, and you gotta come through there. You just gotta find a way to get the ball in the outfield and bring a runner home, even if it's just by a sacrifice fly. It's not going to show up on the scorecard as a hit. It's not going to show up as a hit. It's not going to show up as a hit with runners in scoring position. But it's going to be driving in the run when another run could have meant we're going to extras or we're winning this ball game. Yeah,
and that you don't strike out in that situation with guy on second and third, less than 2 outs. You got to put the ball in play. You have to put the ball in play. It does not help to strike out. I know baseball nowadays tells you, and the nerds that never play baseball in their lives behind a computer tell you that strikeouts don't matter. Yes, it does. Big time, especially with less than 2 outs and a runner on third. You got to get that run in. Sack fly. It's so frustrating. Like, I'm yelling at the TV. I'm yelling at what the fuck are you doing? Like, Marte in that situation, I mean, if you guys play baseball, and if you guys do, you take your lead, in foul territory, depending on how far the infielder is. You're not trying to go too far because that actual play can happen. And you could see he didn't think the catcher was going to throw over. You saw he was late
Yeah.
to move back to the bag. So he wasn't expecting it. And that's Marte. Marte has done a lot of bonehead plays on the base paths in his 4 years here with the Mets. So that has to change. But it's just so frustrating. Like, I'm yelling at the screen. Like, this team were 16 games over 500, and I'm screaming like they're a 500 team. Because again, every game is life or death for fans when you're watching the game, and then when you take a breath and go into a post-game show like we are right now,
Yeah.
we all have to calm down a little bit because of the fact that we know if this team plays the mistake-free baseball that they should play. And the defense has been bad this year. Let's be honest about that.
Yeah, it has
That
been
has
great.
been an issue that has to get better, because you will lose games like you lost today against better teams and down the road if you're going to continue to play defense like this. But Zach, did you ever have problems throwing home? Like, I just can't get past that fact. Like, I'm not saying on a bang bang play where the ball is, it's such a bang bang play, but like plays where they can set their feet. Like, Beatty could have set his feet, or even just thrown it right away. Pete Alonso, the same thing, twice. Like, it's just crazy to me that the Lucas Duda syndrome just follows the orange and blue everywhere, regardless of who's on this team. And like, it's got to get practiced. Like, there's got to be like, it's a mental hurdle, in my opinion, Zach. And I just don't understand the fact that these guys cannot throw home, even if you double clutch. Right? There was still time, even when he double clutched, and he buried the ball in the dirt. Like, it's crazy to me.
Yeah, you gotta make that throw, but that's something they'll work on. That's something they'll correct. I don't foresee that being an issue going forward. I mean, this team is built to be good defensively. I mean, really, outside of Alonso, and Soto, they're good. They're good all around. I mean, Nemo's a solid left fielder. Tyrone Taylor's great in center field. Shortstop Lindor. I know he has a lot of errors this year, and he has actually been kind of not the same. He hasn't been bad per se, but he hasn't been what we expect from him at shortstop. But he's a great defender. They're great around the diamond. So to lose a game on that type of play, it stings. But it is what it is. You just gotta shake it off. You gotta get back out there. I wish Beatty was able to come up in that top of the ninth and make amends for that error. Have a big hit, whether it was a ball over the wall and in the seats, or just into a gap somewhere. Then Alvarez scores him. But it is what it is. Correct the errors. Don't let that loom. Don't let that define what the rest of the season's going to hold for you. Correct it and be better next game. We can talk about till we're blue in the face here, but it was one play, one bad throw, one bad decision by Beatty, and it is what it is at this point. All you can do, there's nothing else that you can do to correct it other than just not make that mistake again.
Yeah, exactly. What are your thoughts on Alvarez? I know that, look, he's still very young. I understand that, but I think it's time for Torrens to have to play more, because he puts better at bats together. He doesn't make certain plays behind the plate that kind of annoy me with Alvarez a little bit. He's been better defensively than he was the last 2 seasons that we've seen him. I want Torrens playing more. He puts better at bats together. I'm surprised they didn't pick. I know Alvarez got the hit in the 9th, but I was thinking, I'm like, is he going to pinch hit Torrens in that spot? Because Torrens, the other night when I think he pinch hit as well, he almost hit a ball over the wall. It got to the warning track because he just puts better at bats together. And in that situation, you are looking for contact. Yeah, you're looking for the ball over the wall, but Alvarez has shown no signs of power at all. I mean, Torrens have shown more signs of power than Alvarez. I was looking for that pinch hit appearance from Torrens, even though Alvarez technically did the job in keeping that inning alive.
Yeah, I thought they would go. Elsewhere. I thought maybe Lindor might be available. Obviously, he wasn't. They're fully committed to resting him for now. And I figured Torrens might get a shot there, but he didn't. And I mean, Alvy did the job there. I agree. I think Torrens needs to be playing more. It should be more of a 50-50 split. But someone like Alvarez, you need to continue to play him. If he's not gonna be your at least in a 50-50 split, he needs to be sent down to get the reps because he's too good. He's too young and too good to be someone that's going to rot away in AAA or rot away as a bench bat. This is someone that's going to be, you at least hope it's going to be your starting catcher for the next 10 plus years. He's going to be a frontline piece in this lineup behind the plate for the foreseeable future, and hopefully some big moments in the next some odd years, while they're making these playoff runs. So I agree. I think Torrent should get some more time, but I think you still need to show the faith that Mendoza has in Alvarez to let him figure it out and come through in those moments. And he did there. You won a home run, but he did the job. He got the line moving. He got on base. Obviously, Acuna wasn't able to continue that rally to hopefully have the Mets tie it up. But I think Alvarez will eventually break through all of this. He's too good. He's too talented. We've seen what he can do when he's on with the bat, and I think his time's going to come soon.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I've been hoping for Alvarez to do it for a while. Is it the injuries? Is it just, not really getting a full spring training the last couple seasons? Could that be the case? I don't know. But, when you got to win ball games, you got to play the best players. I know you got to give you guys reps and all that. But I talked about this with Beatty and Acuna, where when they were platooning at second base, where I don't think it helped either of those guys get better. At some point, Acuna did get a little bit better, and he took the starting job. And then who knows what the hell happened after that? But overall, I just don't think that continuing to throw him out there at the major league level where he's not been good, I think it's hurting his team. Obviously, would it be more of a talking point from Met fans if the Mets were, a 500 team? Probably. But because they're, 15, 16 games over 500, it kind of like is on the back burner a little bit when it comes to talking points about Alvarez, unless Alvarez makes a terrible play or has a bad at bat overall. But I don't know. I'm on this like pedestal here where it's like I want the guys who are going to give me the best opportunity to win, and Alvarez is not doing that right now. And not saying that I want to bury him. It's the same thing that goes for Mark Vientos, right? If you're not doing the job, somebody's going to take your job. And right now, Brett Beatty was, and Mauricio is going to get a lot more playing time. I know Vientos is hurt. But, there was conversations, well, why don't they send Vientos down? When these guys have options and you're not playing well, you have time to fix it in the minor leagues, right? It's not a demotion. It's just being able to fix it. We have a competent catcher in Torrens. You can bring up another AAA catcher as a backup and see how it works and give Alvarez 2 weeks to figure it out, because he needs no pressure at any point in the lineup. Because again, the base runners find you no matter where you are in the lineup, as we talked the other day about that. You just got to get him right, because he is so important. And me and Chris talked about this on the pregame. He is an X factor. We talked about him being an X factor in the middle of this lineup, with Soto, with Alonso, and him being basically non-existent is hurting this lineup. And you could see it, that he's just no plan at the plate, and it's so frustrating because he has so much talent.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to watch, but I agree with you there. Maybe the time is coming where you maybe send him down for a little bit of a stint in the minor leagues, but we have a couple easy series coming up. Hopefully, in Colorado, he can start swinging a better bat against what will be easier pitching and in the altitude, the higher altitude there, where it's more conducive for home runs. And then another one against the Nationals. I know hasn't been the best against the Nationals this year for the Mets, but again, those are series the Mets should win, and hopefully teams you can beat up on. So hopefully Alvarez can take advantage of those and build some confidence to where he can carry that going forward into some tougher series and hopefully down the stretch for the rest of the season. And I don't know if it's necessarily the injury. I think it's a lot. Maybe that does play a part in the injury, definitely, and then some other things. Some mechanical changes. We've seen him kind of shy away from that more of that home run swing, where you still see it at times where it comes out and he's really just kind of swinging for the fences. But it seems like he is just trying to put the ball in play sometimes, and it's not something that he's accustomed to. Being this kind of gap-to-gap hitter, where he's more so someone that's trying to hit the ball with as much power as possible, which he has. He has the ability to drive the ball over the wall, 20, 30 times a year with what he can provide at the plate, but he hasn't been doing that this year. He didn't do it last year, obviously, with the injury, I think, at the end of April, so that kind of hampered him. And it was a hand injury, so it's tough for a guy that relies so much on power as a part of his game to kind of come back and provide that with an injury in his hand. And he's dealing with that again this year. Obviously, he's back, he's healthy, as far as we know. But the hamate bone that he did injure is apparently missing completely. They removed it. I didn't know. I heard. I guess it was Gary say it on the broadcast. So maybe there's some sort of adjustment there, trying to figure out how to swing again with basically a new hand, so to speak. So I think it's going to be it's a waiting game with Alvarez. He does have options, so I guess if things continue to struggle, he will go down. It's just a matter of who comes up, because you do need someone that's competent back there that can catch a good game and can at least provide something at the plate. That's going to be able to play, every third, fourth game, because these catchers, they can't play a full workload of games. They need their days off. They get beat up there behind the plate. And Torrens is someone that has gotten beat up behind the plate. He had to miss a few games, I think, right before Alvarez came back, and then I think there was another stint even after Alvarez came back where he had to sit out 2-3 games in a row where it wasn't available because of some balls he'd taken off the arm, and then the one he had taken below the belt that I think was on Mother's Day. So
yeah,
it's a tightrope kind of walk that Mendoza and Stearns have to do to try to figure out what to do with Alvarez, if you just kind of rock with him or if he is going to be sent down. And I think you wait and you see kind of game. If the Mets are, like you said, closer to 500, I think it's a different story. It's like we need to get someone here that can win us ball games. Now, where they are, I think they have a little bit more leeway. He has a little bit more of a rope that he can play with, and he can continue to struggle at this level where it's not really hurting the Mets. It really hasn't hurt them yet. So we'll see when we get to that point.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. That at bat in the ninth, it is so funny because I do wonder if pitchers are actually realize that they're actually pitching on the mound with Tanner Scott. He threw 2 fastballs right by Francisco Alvarez with the uppercut swing, and you throw him a slider to speed up his bat. Now, like this goes to all teams because you see it all the time. Like, the guy cannot touch the fastball. And he goes, you know what? I'm going to be cute, and I'm going to throw a slider. He is lucky that Alvarez didn't lift that ball and hit it over the wall. Like, it's, I know, who cares what Tanner Scott does with the Dodgers, but it's just a generalization of baseball of how stupid a catcher and a pitcher can be on the mound when a guy can't catch up to your fastball. You've seen it. Alvarez has had problems catching up the fastballs letter high. He swings at all of them. And you throw him a slider on 2 strikes because it looks cool. It looks cool striking out on a slider. And he throws a slider. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, if Alvarez would have lifted that ball and he tied the ball game, like, Dodger fans would just like stone Tanner Scott because they were already good. And he had 2 back-to-back good outings against the Mets.
No, yeah, he's been rough for them all year, and just to kind of make a mistake like that as a pitching tandem there, between the pitcher and catcher, you need to realize what your hitter's weaknesses are, and he kind of just played into Alvarez's strength. He likes the ball down, and he's actually, oddly enough, earlier in his career he was more of a fastball hitter. He really couldn't hit the off speed stuff, but I think the bat speed's been a little bit slower this year, so he was able to speed up the bat, like you said, and he was able to rock one into left field. That was a screaming single. So if he could have lifted that would have been great. And then obviously the rest is history with Acuna kind of just popping out there to center field. You wish he could have done a little bit more there, but good at bats around in the bottom of the 9th inning between Tyrone Taylor. I mean, he worked the full count, obviously struck out. Acuna was battling there, had a good at bat, just got under one that was up in the zone. I think that was a pitch to foul off, not to try to drive, and it is what it is. That I think things are going to change. I mean, obviously, when Lindor's back in the lineup, we're not going to see as much of Acuna. It's going to be more Mauricio, or at least a split between those 2 guys. And we're going to have a little bit of a longer lineup, not have to rely on Acuna as much, who did have a really good game today. He had the single. I think it was the at bat before. He had a screaming single in the center field that Pa has made a great catch on. So he definitely looked a lot more comfortable at the plate today. So that's good to see going forward, that he could be an option, especially with Lindor out at least a couple games. We'll see how many more after then, if it is any more. So there's positives to take away. it's tough to see the guys, leave a country on base again, but things are gonna change. There's gonna be a few games coming up where they're gonna go and hit like 600 with runners in scoring position. They're just gonna pile on runs, and I was hoping that would be today. You score, what was it, 3 in the first or 4 in the first? You no. It was
4 in the first couple of innings. Yeah.
Yeah, 4 in the first, like 2 or 3, and you just hope that you can continue to pile on past them. But obviously they didn't. We're here sitting. They only scored 5, and they lost by 1 run, but you just got to be better up there. Everyone's got to be a little bit better. Everyone's got to be a little bit better with situational hitting, being able to just driving the run by any means necessary, not striking out or not hitting the double plays, not getting the ball deep enough in the outfield. A bunch of different things there. It's just about reading the situation and coming through in those opportunities, which the Mets haven't been great at, but have been great at the same time. In the clutch spots they have been, but it just throughout the game in the middle innings when they have a lead, or it just kind of, the game's just kind of going along. They really just haven't been able to take advantage in those situations. When the pressure's on them, they seem to be at their best. They had chances there in the bottom of the ninth, obviously, or top of the ninth, and didn't come through. But throughout the rest of the season, things need to change. Those middle innings need to be where the Mets pile on, not leave it for the later innings.
Yeah, that's the thing. And like, they had opportunities to pile on. If they pile on, the game's over. And talking about Acuna, Gary Cohen talked about it on the broadcast. This is the best at bats he's seen Acuna have in weeks, which is a great sign. Again, who knows if he's going to be here, long term when Vientos comes back. There'll be a decision to be made. But if he can have at bats like that and put better at bats together and look like he has a plan at the plate and not try to do too much, because again, he's still trying to hit home runs. He's still swinging, excessively hard. In this game, I understand in the ninth inning, you're trying to hit the ball over the wall at that point. You could see he was trying to. And then when, it got later in the count, he started to hone down that swing a little bit and try to, more of a contact swing. But he had really good at-bats like you were talking about, and Gary Cohen talked about that. Hopefully he takes that, and this is why I don't like the fact that you bring up prospects and you don't play him every day. If he doesn't play tomorrow, he's sitting down after having 4 good at-bats today. Like, that's what annoys me about what the Mets are doing. It's probably the only thing that I have a gripe about with Stearns and Mendoza. And this is more Stearns because he's making a call of who to bring up and who to put on this team. You got Mauricio, who is 0 for 8. I get that, but he sat today. You got Acuna in the ball game. Okay, great. Acuna had good at bats. So what are you going to play Mauricio tomorrow over Acuna? Like that's where I get a little frustrated with, because sitting these young kids does not help. Like, it's not going to help Acuna tomorrow if he sits after his good at bats today.
No, yeah, it is frustrating thinking about it like that. But who do you sit then? McNeil obviously had a bad game today, but he's been really good. Marte was phenomenal today. Obviously he got thrown out of third base on that back pick, but otherwise he had a home run, he had a single, a double, and I think a walk in there too. He was 3 for 4 with getting on base 4 times today. So I think it's tough to sit some of these guys who are performing for unproven commodities that haven't been playing well. It's not like Acuna's, out there killing it, or Mauricio's was on fire in his first 2 games here up at the big leagues. They haven't played well, so it's tough to find who to play, who to sit. I think at this moment in time, if it maybe you see Beatty sit tomorrow because of the mistake. I don't know if there's a lefty on the mound, so maybe he'll get the day off. But you'll probably see these guys cycle in and out of the lineup a bit. Mostly Beatty's going to get the lion's share at third base, and then you'll probably see, with Vientos out, Mauricio getting more playing time than Acuna, unless Acuna can step it up and really start providing. So it's a tough tightrope to walk unless they really come out swinging good, or they're that they're this super prospect that you need to fill a hole, or whatever the situation may be. So it's a tough situation for them to figure out at this moment in time. And some of these Mets hitters haven't been making it easy on them. If Marte was still batting below 200 and playing like crap, that's an easy decision. It should be Mauricio playing DH or someone else in the lineup. It's Mauricio or Acuna, getting at bats over him. If McNeil's been playing like crap all season long, which he hasn't, it's an easy decision there that McNeil's going to be your bench bat. But they haven't, and they're proven commodities. Marte was a great player for so many years. McNeil's won a Silver Slugger and was great for the Mets, for a few seasons earlier in his career. So I think they'll get their playing time, and it's a matter of who takes advantage of it. because obviously you saw it last year. Beatty got the shot over Vientos. Beatty didn't take advantage of it. Vientos came up, took advantage of it, and he's their third baseman going forward, or their DH. He cemented himself into this lineup, at least for the foreseeable future. Acuna and Mauricio really haven't really figured it out yet. They haven't been able to cement themselves in that lineup, and I guess we'll see what happens going forward with Lindor's injury. If Acuna is going to get the majority of the playing time there, I would assume it's probably him over Mauricio. So I guess we'll have a couple games where we see a lot more Acuna than Mauricio, but we got some time before Vientos is back, and we'll see who proves that they deserve the spot on the roster ahead of the other, whether that's Acuna or Mauricio.
Yeah, honestly, I just sit McNeil. I would DH Mauricio. No, depending if Lindor plays tomorrow, we'll see if that's the case. Because then Acuna will probably play shortstop. But I would play all three of Beatty, Mauricio, and Acuna. Sit McNeil. Look, McNeil hasn't been terrible. He's been better than I thought he would be, but it hasn't been really good. He's had good at bats here and there, but he's still been at the most. I would play. I know Mauricio was 0 for 8, but you're not gonna. Why bring him up and sit him? Play him. You want to DH him? Go ahead. If you want to put him at third, DH Beatty. I don't care. Beatty, Acuna, and Mauricio all need to be in a lineup these next 3 days. Give McNeil a defensive replacement spot in left field or wherever, or pinch hit him in a game if you need to, whatever. But other than that, I want to see those three guys playing every day. Give these kids an opportunity to continue to play. Again, Acuna played well today. He had a good at bats today. Play him. Beatty, show him confidence. He made a bad play throwing at home. He's been great defensively. Better than Acuna, better than Vientos. He's been outstanding at third base. One bad throw, I'm not going to sit him. And I understand if Mendoza does, but I don't think he will. I think he'll play. Give him the confidence. And then Mauricio, get him going. Because we know how electric Mauricio's bat could be if you get him going. He's 0 for 8. That's okay. Just coming up, he had to travel to the West Coast, on a moment's notice because of the Vientos injury. Play him tomorrow. Let him go. It's Colorado, right? Yeah. All these guys should be getting red hot in Colorado, and that's what they should do.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what happens tomorrow. I expect one of McNeil or Beatty to sit. Like you said, I would like to see the confidence in him, but that's also bench worthy there. You can't make a mistake like that. So we'll see what Mendoza and Stearns decide to go with. I'm actually curious. I'm looking at who the projected starter is for tomorrow.
Is tomorrow, I believe.
Sanzatella, okay, he's a righty, so we'll Beatty probably won't get the sit. I guess it probably will be. I don't know. Maybe you see Tyrone sit and you have McNeil in center field, Mauricio in at third, Beatty at second base, something along those lines. I really don't see McNeil
in center field in Colorado will be very fun to watch.
It'll be interesting. You're right. You're right. It's tough center field, but we'll see what happens tomorrow. I mean, I expect to see McNeil in the lineup regardless. I think he's been too good aside from this game. He's been too good. He's come up with some clutch hits. I think it was the first game of the series. He had that big double to blow the save by Tanner Scott and get the Mets ahead in the top of the ninth, if I'm not mistaken, or whatever it may have been. I know he had a big hit against Tanner Scott. And so I don't see him sitting it. And I get what you're saying. You want to play these young guys, but aside from that, the Mets are in a win now mode. You can't just throw these young guys out there to play them to get them reps. They're here to fill holes for a team that has aspirations of winning the World Series. So if they're not going to be what helps you, and their best way to help you right now is just a warm body to fill a hole while someone's injured, so be it. That has to be what it is, because you can't just go throwing guys out there to take reps because they're young and you need to get them the reps. I mean, we need guys to fill holes right now. Vientos is injured. Lindor's banged up. And so, we'll see. They'll get their reps while these guys are hurt. Hopefully Lindor's back sooner than later. Hopefully he doesn't need an IL stint. And hopefully Vientos is back by the end of the month. And we'll see from there who decides to win the starting role, win a position on this team, whether it's off the bench or, they find their way into the starting lineup. But they need to prove it. You can't just hand them a role just because and watch Mauricio or Acuna go out there and take offers every night just because they're young and you want to get them reps and see what they are. They've had their time to see what they are. Acuna had his time to see what he was earlier this season, and he lost it. Mauricio, he hasn't got many opportunities. So I would like to see him play a lot more while Vientos is injured to really see what we have there. And if he can acclimate to life in the major leagues and prove to be a true major league bat, because goddamn, that bat is incredible when he's on. So we'll see. I expect him to get several at bats, maybe definitely one, if not two starts there in Colorado. And it's just a matter of find ways to win. Whoever's going to give you the best chance to win, play them. We need to win games. Play who's ever going to give us the best chance to win.
100% agree with that. So again, guys, the Mets lose 6-5. They had a 4-0 lead. They blew the game. Let's be honest. They gave this game to the Dodgers. They unfortunately don't get their 40th win of the season, but they split the series in LA and now headed for 3 in Colorado. And again, 2 out of 3 is a minimum. 3, sweep is excellent, but 2 out of 3 is a minimum. So Zach, final thoughts on today's game and the series coming up.
Series coming up. Today's game, just goldfish memory. Forget, mental mistakes. Get rid of that. Erase it from your memory. You lost the game. That is what it is. You went into LA. You did what you needed to do and win 2 out of 4. You won the season series. Great. We know we could beat the Dodgers. We played them 7 times this year. 3 at home, 4 away. We won 4 of 7. We would have won an NLCS series against them. Now erase that from your memory. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter going into the Rockies series. Go out there, play good fundamental baseball, hit with runners in scoring position, and score early and often. I don't want to see big stretches of innings without many runs scored. I want to see a run, 2 runs every couple innings. Where by the end of the game we have 8, 9, 10 runs. This is a bad team in an atmosphere, in an environment, in an altitude where you can score runs in droves. So I expect the Mets to go out there, score a ton of runs in Colorado, and by God, please win 2 out of 3 minimum. And if they don't sweep them, I will be a little bit upset, to be completely honest with you. I mean, this is a bad team. You very well could sweep them. You did earlier this season, so you should be able to now. So go out there, do the job. Let's tighten up fundamentally and go win some ball games. Yeah,
good take and good final thoughts. Overall, look, beat this damn Rockies team. Denver, going to Colorado always scares me because, again, the thin air, you just never know because runs can be scored like crazy in them games no matter how bad a team is. But 2 out of 3, I would be a little upset if we don't sweep them either. But, again, series wins are series wins regardless of who you're playing, and that's what the Mets have to focus on. The Mets have been very resilient after a bad loss, and this was a bad loss. The next game, they kind of wipe the slate and just worry about the next game. And they've been doing a great job with that. So once again, guys, 39-24 record for the New York Mets. They lose 6-5, split the series in LA, and tomorrow they face the Rockies. So with that said, guys, thank you for tuning in to the Mets Postgame Show right here on the channel. I'll see you tomorrow with maybe Chris, maybe Zach, maybe all 3 on the pregame show against Colorado. Have a good night, guys. Let's go Mets, and see you next time.
Good night, guys. Let's go Mets.
Meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kids.